Chapter 3 is A Quiet Life Interrupted. My priest training would be as condensed and unique as my hiring experience was. I was put under the tutelage of Father Louis Chester, and for 6 months I shadowed him through his day. He gave me a great flow chart that diagrammed the major actions in the Mass. I have a very bad memory, but the flow chart enabled me to learn the Mass quickly. Of course, no training would be required for the administering of baptism, confession, homiletics, or marriage, since I was only going to be a simplex singular function priest. That saved us a lot of training time. After the training, I was assigned to my first parish. I stayed there about a year. I performed my morning Mass routine, like clockwork, 7 days a week. Then I was assigned to my next parish, and so on. Sometimes the assignment would be 6 months. Sometimes it would be 18 months. Some assignments would go as long as 4 years. But the months roll by, which turned into years, then into decades, and before I knew it, I had spent 30 years as a simplex priest. Did I like it? Well, if I could summarize it in a phrase, it was heaven on earth. Furthermore, anybody out there who is considering being a priest, hear me. If there is any human work that has vanquished Adam's curse, that blessed work is being employed as a simplex priest. It's just a beautiful job. I highly recommend it. Now remember, I'm not a typical parish priest. I'm a singular function simplex. Your parish priest is usually a very disciplined but very harried person. They might put on a brave, peaceful front, but I can tell you that after having lived in a rectory for over 30 years, there's a lot more going on in the life of a typical parish priest than you might think. The poor things are always running around, performing various duties in addition to their main job, which is presiding at Mass. But that's not the life of a simplex priest. Remember, by contractual agreement, we do not perform baptisms, weddings, or preaching. These duties are strictly forbidden to a simplex priest. Maybe you think that is selfish on our part, this steadfast refusal to perform these essential parish functions. We have our reasons. We can and do theologically justify our laissez-faire position towards all parish things outside of the holy sacrifice of the Mass. So after my morning Mass was done, my workday was done. That phrase sums up the simplex work attitude perfectly. I usually went back to the rectory by 9 a.m. or so to see regular priests doing all kinds of work. I would settle in an easy chair, read a magazine or whatever, and not feel guilty about it either, because I perform my role as dictated by my order. I might look lazy, but in a way I'm more disciplined and harder working than a parish priest. For those 30 years I had it made. It was the greatest job that ever was. But that's not all, because in addition to all those benefits I just mentioned, I was known as a floater. I would travel from parish to parish, really at my sole discretion. If I liked the place, I tended to stay longer, but if I did not love the place, I politely would move on to greener pastures. I didn't just smoke cigars and drink beverages after Mass either. Sometimes I would write poems or look out the window at the squirrels. I had a very quiet lifestyle, and anytime it got too busy or crazy around the rectory, which was often, I would always find a corner to crawl into with a book and a pad and just tune out. Please know that I was a happy man with a quiet, easy, and introverted lifestyle. It might sound boring to you, and it might be boring for your typical full-facultied priest, but for some reason my skill set, which consisted of only one skill, the ability to say Mass, was quite valuable to my employer. Some thought I was a prima donna, but I am much too humble for that. I did my work like a good little simplex should. I did my daily Mass and kept my hands to myself. The years flew by. Most parishes I enjoyed serving. But then in 2017, after 30 years in the simplex priest business, something happened to me that changed everything. On October 9th, 2017, I received a letter from our Mother House marking the 100th anniversary celebration of Fatima. In a most unusual action, the Mother House of the Order of Simplex, located in Lisbon, Portugal, issued directly to me a divine habeas corpus, or forced writ of appearance. The document was hand-delivered by courier to the parish rectory, where I was stationed at the time. When I saw the envelope, I was scared out of my mind. It had a foreign look. I didn't like that. I have been living such an insular life that when the Mother House mailed me the writ, with all her authority emanating from that strange envelope, I was shaking in my shoes. What could it mean? Well, I knew what a forced writ of appearance was, But what exactly did it mean for me? I would soon find out. I read its contents and figured out quite quickly what this meant for me. It was the worst possible news. I must travel. I prefer 7 swords to pierce my heart. The divine writ demanded that I appear in Lisbon, Portugal on October 13th, 2017. I would be leaving almost immediately. Too bad for me. But how was I going to do it? I can't travel for a litany of reasons. But then, inspired by the Holy Spirit, I remembered my process plan for the Purple Flash experience. Then I broke the Portugal pilgrimage down into steps, just like I did with my Purple Flash manifestation. 1 step at a time was my saving mantra then, and it shall save me again. The steps were longer and scarier for this Fatima pilgrimage. But once each step was completed, I was 1 step closer to my home sweet home, the rectory. My plane flight from New York City to Lisbon took 7 hours. After arriving at Lisbon Humberto Delgado Airport, another small limousine brought me from the airport to the Mother House on the city's outskirts. Throughout this trip, I went further into my shell. I was scared. I am always scared. I haven't been more than 10 miles outside of a parish in the 30 years. But I survived this ordeal, and I admit it was not as difficult as I thought it would be. Having arrived at the Mother House, I was directed to a small chapel where I met with a beautiful woman who was sitting on a wooden chair. She gave me a sealed envelope. This mysterious letter from this beautiful lady in the dark chapel was a strange spiritual transaction for me. I remember staring at her face, which was very beautiful. She looked something like my mother, especially the shape of her head, and her neck was as elegant as a swan's. I held the sealed envelope. I stared at her a little longer. I took the envelope and put it into my jacket pocket. She nodded. I felt it was time to leave. As I got up to leave, she suddenly slapped her hand down on the table. It made a loud pop sound like a gunshot. She had plunked a document down on the tabletop. It was a sacred contract. October 13th, 2017. Fatima, Portugal. I, Father Michael Patrick Duffy, on the 100th anniversary of the Fatima Day Star, acknowledge the receipt of a sealed envelope containing the 3 preachments. Furthermore, I understand that I am ordered, by an extraordinary granting of faculty, to preach these last-day messages, first to my brothers in the priesthood, then to the world. I promise to promote these messages, whatever they may be, to the best of my ability. Signed, Father Michael Patrick Duffy, SP. I signed the contract indicating my agreement with the terms of our business arrangement. My uncomfortable meeting with this mysterious woman was completed. The return trip, long story short, I turned around and went home as fast as my little feet and the limos and jets would take me. Did I tell you I hate travel? Did I tell you I hate preaching? Did I tell you I'm not too fond of Portugal? Well, for those and a host more reasons, this not-so-intrepid pilgrim was in full get-out-of-Dodge fast mode, and let's just say that I won't be visiting the Iberian Peninsula anytime soon. And as far as the 3 preachments contained in the sacred contract, I don't know where to begin. I'm so timid I barely speak to the parish secretary. Plus, if you recall, we Simplex are forbidden from preaching by contractual stipulation. How am I going to preach these messages, whatever they are? First to the world, then to my brothers. If I'm too scared, preach them. Plus, preaching is expressly forbidden by my order? Thanks, mysterious lady. You put me in quite a predicament. I was returning to my home a Simplex wreck. But what was in the envelope? What exactly were those messages I've been ordered to preach? God help me. Before I do that, I need to give you a brief background on the history of my order.